Hello, my name is Frances Farmer. I was a well-known actress back in the day. Maybe you even heard my name before. I think even the band Nirvana made a song about me. But that all happened long after my time had passed. I was just an innocent schoolgirl when I wrote an essay for school. I named it God Dies, which landed me in hot water with my mother and pretty much everyone I knew back then. You know, in that time they were panicking about the so-called Reds, the Communist Party, and the idea that God had died. Well, it was just too much for them. They thought she's got to be a communist as well. Obviously, religious views have little to do with politics. But try telling that to the people in charge. If you do, you might just end up like I did. The funny thing was, I just followed an idea that I read in a book by Nietzsche. I guess the people who have the most to say in this world usually think less than most others. Another even funnier thing was that this essay won a prize which included a trip to Moscow and further to New York. Obviously, I was very excited, not so much about Moscow, more about New York. I desperately wanted to be on the stage, a serious actress, and this was literally my ticket. But my mother was against it. I still went. And in almost no time, I had small parts in plays on stage. I think I wasn't all bad in my bit parts, but I never expected what was to come next. A talent scout from a major movie studio approached me and wanted to sign me into a contract. Since it was good money and I had no intention of leaving New York soon again, I took the contract. I never imagined how this would affect my life, not in a million years. In those days, when you were chosen to be the next big thing in movies, that meant you had it made. They would change your appearance, give you new clothes, sometimes even plastic surgery, and of course, there was always a nice studio doctor on hand to prescribe whatever they thought you should take. I appeared in a few movies, but they were lousy. I just did them to have a job, and I thought, if I became better known through movies, I might make it on Broadway, which was my real ambition. Even though my movies got worse and worse, mind you, the scripts, not my performance, I was hailed the next Garbo. I started to take what they called peppy pills. Everybody took them, and I was just told they would make me eat less and let me concentrate more on my work. Unfortunately, that was not all they did. But in the beginning, it was fun. I admit that. I could go to parties all night and still be on set in the morning. When I wanted to go back to Broadway, I met Clifford Odets. He was a big writer for the stage, and I was flattered by his interest in me. I would star in one of his biggest successes, Golden Boy, the part which was later played by another actress in the movie adaptation. You may ask yourselves why. Well, I had an affair with Clifford. He promised me the moon and the stars, but he was a married man. And after they could put my name in lights to make their play a hit, I was no longer needed, and he ditched me right then and there. I was alone in New York, I was heartbroken, and worst of all, I was broke. So I reluctantly returned to Hollywood. But this time it was different. They were angry I had left, and they let me know it. So they put me in one bad movie after another and made me do the easiest scenes over and over and over, until I simply broke inside. In anger, I threw a hairbrush at a lady working for the studio after she called me names. I don't think it even hit her, but the devil never sleeps, and she pressed charges. I got off with probation, and to this day I still think the studio themselves had a hand in this, simply to tie me to the bad movies they made me do with no chance of running. After a party at my friend Connie's place, I got insulted by that one poison pen gossip columnist, and I simply had enough. I wanted to leave, so I took my car and drove off. In my rage, I didn't turn the car's headlights off, as was the law during war times, and I got stopped by a policeman. He got rather fresh with me, and I was a bit drunk, so it didn't end well for me. Since I was still on probation from that previous incident, I was convicted. In my desperation, I took even my mother's help, which was the biggest mistake of my life. She arranged it so I wouldn't have to go to jail. Instead, a guardianship was ruled, which gave my mother all rights. I was to have no more rights than a child. Also, I was sent to a sanitarium. The treatment methods back then were crude. They injected me with insulin to put my body into shock. The theory was, if it can make you crazy, it can cure you. That shows how competent the care I received was. I returned to my parents' house and tried to mend our relationship until I found out what my mother was really up to. She had planned this whole thing. She had now complete control over me. When we fought, she would threaten to have me institutionalized again, and one day she did. I stayed in psychiatric clinics for years and years. Rumor had it I was even lobotomized, but let me tell you once and for all, that never happened. After my ordeal was over, I became a TV personality and hosted old movies on television. But at the age of 57, I became very ill with cancer, and I did not survive. The reason I told you all this is to show that a strong will and determination can lead you to unexpected and unexplored areas in life. But these are also the things which you can hold on to when times get rough. And believe me, if I can do it, stay true to myself, be the person I am, never let anyone put me down, then so can you. I was strong, and so are you if you just never let the system dictate what and who you should be. I wish you the best and hope you can take a piece of my story and learn from it. Love, Francis.